For our first story, we have she f 32 slept with someone else and told me 32 it's not cheating because I said I wasn't seeing anyone. That doesn't mean I can't sleep with Link dated for 3 years. Broke up. Then several months later she told me she couldn't imagine her life without me. We aren't official, but I asked her, and you're not seeing anyone anymore, right? She said she was off dating apps and had ended things with the other guy. She started talking about marriage. We spent so much time together. Month and a half later, she went to visit friends for New Year's. One of the people was a friend she hooked up with a couple times over our break. I didn't know this. He wanted more, she didn't. They went to a concert, got fucked up on K, and slept together. She got pregnant and told me yesterday she's aborting. I'm so hurt. She's showing some remorse, but saying it's not cheating because we're not in a relationship. I feel like it's pretty clear when we agreed not to date other people, it means no sex with others. Is this inaccurate? Edit. I'm having a hard time making thoughts, but this outpouring of support means a lot. Thank you everyone who's putting in their 2 cents. Even the tough love is helping me deal with this. That's the end of our first post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, who cares? Just move on. She's pregnant with another man's child. Our second commenter says, you don't have to stay with her based on a technicality. If she does something that you thought she should have known better than do, then leave the relationship. It's a lot harder to be walked on when you are standing up. Update me. Our third commenter says, she started talking about marriage. That implies she is exclusive with you. Why would you start talking about marriage with some if you are not exclusive with that person? So yes, she cheated. Also, it would be best for you to break up with her definitively. She cannot be trusted. For our second story, we have my new boyfriend male 33 feet asked me female 31 if my lil sister was hot as Link. I want your opinions. I am female 31. And I met my new boyfriend, male 33 feet about 2 months ago. We have insane chemistry. I know it's not that long. But I like him. I think we are very compatible. I feel very comfortable and happy with him. I'm amazed at how good things are, but the thing is that yesterday, he made a joke that made me so angry. He texted me and asked to do a video call, and I said I was a bit busy with my little sister, and then he texted back, is your sister as hot as you? That comment made me confused at first because he knew about my 2 sisters 28 and 12. I text back, what a jerk, that comment is so out of place, I don't want to talk with you and I'm angry. He texted back, it was a joke but sure, take your time, I know you need space in general, that's just an excuse. I texted again, if you can't realize why is wrong then it's fucked up, and he texted, I'm sorry if it offended you, I'll sleep good night, and I just say, okay. So my question is, I'm overreacting? He was just joking or he was wrong about it? Also, when I broke up with my previous BF, it was because I heard him saying to his friend that my sister was hot and that he wanted to fuck her and more disgusting things I won't say, but you can imagine that broke my heart at that time. When my new boyfriend made that comment, it triggered something painful in me, but he, new BF, doesn't know any of this. It's not his fault I have this little trauma, that's why I'm confused, it's just my drama and I am overreacting for a little joke, or he was wrong and what can I do if it's the case? That's the end of our second post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, you're not overreacting. That joke was way out of line. I love to joke with my but never about the physical attractiveness of her sister. I was 28 when I started dating her and what your new boyfriend said is a clear sign of immaturity. Our second commenter says, greater than I'm sorry if it offended you. It is important to note that is not an actual apology. Also, Schrodinger's joke. When someone says something awful then when it doesn't land suddenly it is just a joke. Agree with other comments. This is childish and his response is equally childish. You're not wrong with your reaction. Our third commenter says, greater than I know you need space in general. That's just an excuse. This seems manipulative. Reflect and see if there are other red flags besides this situation. For our last story, we have I, 31 female, made my boyfriend, 31 male, feel like a rapist. I feel like I just ruined our lives. How do I fix this? I have been with my partner, B, for 14 years. I love him dearly. B is sweet, considerate, and the love of my life. We have been long distance for 8 of the last 14 years due to various work and life commitments, but that was supposed to change in the next year. We are both excited to finally have living together on the horizon. Or were, I suppose. I have a very low sexual libido that has gotten lower the last few years, stress, plus distance, I guess. The days that I'm in the mood don't necessarily line up with the days we happen to be together. B has a relatively high libido. B will initiate intimacy most of the time, I rarely initiate. I know that this makes B feel unwanted and I do try to work on it, but I don't tend to think about sex very much. B has never pressured me into sexual activity, and when I say no that's the end of it, but obviously being rejected over and over has an impact on his mood. We have talked about it before. Sometimes it feels like rejecting him goes fine at the time, but later on he'll have a shorter temper, getting more easily annoyed by dumb shit I do, spilled drinks, messed up kitchen, etc. We also spend so little time actually together. Maybe a few days to a week a month. That even if he just seems a little upset I feel bad that we're not appreciating our time together. He's been staying at my place the last few days. Today we were having a discussion about a semi-related issue. He said I've been harsh the last few days while we've been trying to sort out a stressful situation unrelated to our relationship. It is true that I have been standoffish. It's a bit exasperated by the fact that he's also pretty horny right now. We haven't seen each other in a while, and it seems like stress makes him more horny and me less horny, so it worsens the libido issue. I guess I've been snappy because I'm annoyed he's trying to do that sort of thing when I'm busy with other stuff. That's the context. During our discussion he mentioned again the fact that he feels undesired because of how rarely I initiate. I'm enthusiastic about his initiating. We talked for a bit about this. Both a bit upset but mostly level-headed. I mentioned the fact that his mood dipping after repeated rejections sort of has a negative feedback loop in that now when he does try to get it on I am thinking about that a bit. He said he hopes I never felt pressured into having sex. Here is where I fucked up. I said that sometimes, not often. I do engage in sexual activity when I otherwise wouldn't want to because I don't want him to be in a horrible mood later on. What I meant was I don't want to spoil the short times that we do have together by making him feel unwanted, and yeah, I guess to a degree I don't like when he's a bit moody. I want to be clear, I'm not afraid of him at any point. Him being moody is usually just us bickering or him telling me off for stuff that is dumb and my fault but he'd normally let slide. This fucking devastated him and he said it's basically rape. I tried to explain that it's not because obviously he had no idea and I gave consent, but he still felt like a monster. I felt awful that I made him feel that way because of my poor communication skills. He is genuinely the most considerate guy and it seemed to just break him. I fucked shit up even harder by saying it's not rape, that people have sex they don't want all the time for whatever other reason, including to make their partners happy. I tried to give the example of asexual people, not sex repulsed, in sexual relationships cause their partners want sex but I don't think that helped. I then fucked things up even more by throwing out a desperate comparison to try and get him away from the rape idea. I said that while it's not exactly the right idea and it's also a horrible comparison, it's more like pity sex. I didn't say that to be hurtful. Genuinely I thought this was a better comparison than him feeling like a monster. It just seemed to break him even more and now in hindsight I worry that he's thinking every time we ever got intimate it was out of pity. What I meant by the comparison was sometimes people have sex to make the other person happy and not cause they want to themselves, but I obviously fucked that royally. He left to stay in a hotel. I sent a few paragraphs in a message trying to explain that he's not a fucking monster rapist. No, I did not use those words, but I don't know has that helped. I guess further context is that in the past I've said I sometimes feel like I'm walking on eggshells when he's moody, like a small thing I do can set him off, and he's interpreted that as me saying I feel like he's abusive. I do not feel like he is abusive at all. I had an abusive childhood and I walk around eggshells around literally everyone. I panic when I feel like people are upset with me. I tend to people please. I do not deal with rejection well. When he is upset or mad at me he has a tendency to wall off, be mad for the night, and the eggshells feeling is because even if he's just stroppy for a night, if you only have a weekend together that's a big deal, really. So I worry about that. My parents were very angry, distant people. They had drug issues. I became estranged from them both as a teen, before I ever even met B, and have never seen them since. They were both physically violent and generally absent, so I know I crave attention and approval and do have a deep-seated need to not anger people. One of my earlier childhood memories is of my mother slapping me, insulting me, and saying she never wanted to see me again, then sending me to my room. I don't remember what I did to piss her off. I do remember how I piled my stuffed toys into the shape of another person, draped one across my back, and pretended I was getting a hug and that she loved me. I'm not sure how old I was then, I guess about 5 or 6. I mention this because I want to make it clear I am quite sure the levels of anger, upset my partner shows are absolutely healthy and normal, and his boundary of wanting to cool down alone for a few hours when I do upset him is healthy, too. It's not like I'm getting the silent treatment for weeks at a time. I just feel an intense, suffocating sense of loneliness when he does want to stew for a bit, so the eggshells feeling is desperation to avoid that feeling, I guess. B is aware that my childhood was abusive, and vaguely how bad it was. I have brought up a few specific instances but I don't tend to bring them up mid-argument, so I guess none have really been about that loneliness feeling or really couched in the frame of, so this is why I'm hypersensitive. More just, haha, here's a fucked up story about something my mom did once. I am also autistic and I guess will say things without realizing how fucking hurtful they are, a la pity sex. I don't think either excuses me making him feel the way that I do, but I guess on a personal level I'm aware that's probably why. I have been to therapy for about a year before, with 2 different therapists. It was okay. I found it helpful for working through depression that was keeping me from functioning, but neither therapist seemed to really handle the childhood abuse issues very well. I guess now the depression is under control, has been for a couple of years, I should look for one specifically for the childhood issues. That's about the sum of it, I suppose. B has gone and I am fucking terrified I have irrevocably broken both him and us. I don't want him to feel like a monster because I'm damaged and deal with things in an unhealthy way. This whole conversation blindsided him. I don't want to lose the sweetest person I've ever met. I know it can be hard to gauge things from a one-sided description, but he is a very gentle and compassionate soul, with me and people in general. Which is probably why the idea that he has been raping me, regardless of how rarely that might have happened, has fucking devastated him. I don't know what to do to fix this, what to say, how to make him feel better. Selfishly, I also find myself desperately searching for whatever words mean he will just come home and tell me that things will be okay and I haven't thrown away wonderful years and a whole lifetime together. I am giving him some space right now. I sent one message a couple hours ago and talked briefly on the phone to make sure he was somewhere safe for the night, but I've made myself leave him alone since. I was actually afraid he might hurt himself. He didn't say that he would, but he was so goddamn upset and disgusted at the idea that he raped someone, but he seems steady at his hotel. Obviously there's no unringing that bell, but how do I make him see that he's not a fucking rapist? How do I even begin to make up for this bomb I just dropped on us? That's the end of our last post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, have you had mismatched libidos for the past 15 years? Our second commenter says, a big mistake people make is thinking that libido is going to do all the work alone. It does when we're young or with a new partner, but many things can make it dwindle. Dead bedrooms, mismatched libidos is a common problem for long-term couples. Check out the subs on dead bedrooms and high or low libidos. It's a common compromise that the low libido partner makes an effort to be intimate with the high libido partner. It's about meeting needs. It's not necessarily satisfying and will damage the relationship in the long run. I went through this in my marriage for years. It came to a head a couple of years ago and I focused on nurturing the flame of my desire. I made it a priority to find what got me hot and needy. And it worked. We've had an extremely exciting and fulfilling sex life ever since. By ramping up my libido, I also now have a clue as to how much my partner suffered over the years with a reluctant lover. It sucks when you are in need and your partner isn't there to help you out. Find out what turns you on, and invest the effort there. And if there is something you need as well, affection, emotional intimacy, that is something that they in turn can work on for you. Our third commenter says, I understand you've been dealing with depression, but counting on things to work themselves out when you move into together is a big gamble. You think living together, you're bound to occasionally be in the mood when he is in the mood. But you know from the past few years, the times you meet up every month, you just happen to never be in the mood. Maybe you are just never in the mood when he is around, so moving in together doesn't fix that issue. There's clearly some resentment built up on both your parts, and that's really difficult to walk back. That's all for today. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.